Take Back Your Health Now, Episode 9. You're listening to the Take Back Your Health Now podcast, the show that interviews the top doctors, athletes, trainers, and entrepreneurs to help you find the holy grail of health. Now here's your host, Dr. Dan Margolin.
All right, this is Dr. Dan Margolin with Take Back Your Health Now, the show where we pull out all the stops in search of the holy grail of health. We are very fortunate today to have Nicholas Bayerle, who is the founder of the $1 Billion Body with the help of his inspirational wife, Amanda. He has a huge vision for his life and for your life. Nicholas created the $1 Billion Body to help each man to return to their true self, to push their body and mind to the limit, to actively grow and be accountable to the bigger vision of their life. Through the cornerstone of fitness and health, each member of this motivated brotherhood is dedicated to serving their own desires and goals as they commit to looking and feeling like $1 billion. Nicholas, welcome. Nicholas and Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it, and so happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Nicholas, tell us a little bit about like yourself, like what you're doing as far as the $1 Billion Body, and even like how you got into this. It's a fascinating story, I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you guys have a few minutes because it is quite the process of being where we're at today, and I'm super grateful for the whole thing. My life started off quick as someone who's a high achiever that wanted to go out and be number one. I was the youngest kid in the world at 2 years old to start. From there, 4 years old, I started racing motocross, and so on a motorcycle at 4 years old. So things got a little bit crazy.
4 years old. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's how it all started out. So I automatically didn't really think about getting a job or having to go to school. Thought about being a professional athlete, and had all my inspirations come from professional athletes, motocross racers, things like that. And then my dad, who was the person who grew up racing and never had the resources to be able to go do it on his own. So he thought, I'm going to work hard so that I can make sure that my son doesn't have that same problem.
Sure.
I fortunately battled a lot of depression. I think a lot of it was from the things that I fueled my body with and the different hormone levels that I had at a young age that weren't supported by the food I was eating. So at 7, I wrote my first suicide letter. So that was pretty intense.
Wow.
And
you remember all this?
Struggled with that.
Nicholas, so
you
remember?
I totally remember all of it.
Wow. That's
and then
wild.
From there, basically what happened was, I had ups and downs when it came to motocross. It was the number one thing I wanted to do. I didn't think about school, didn't think about work, never thought I'd have a job. Business when I was 12 years old, and it was a lawn mowing and weed whacking business. And that's because my dad always told me that if he lost everything, all of his money, business, always be able to come back just with a weed whacker and a lawnmower,
right.
Because he'd go out there and build a business. And so I did have some aspirations, but ultimately it was all about the motocross. And I still remember this moment though. I was in a very vulnerable time. I was like, 13 years old, be the best, and was trying to express to my dad, I want to be the best. You can just picture a little kid like trying to convince his dad that, come on, let's go all out and all this.
Right.
I remember pulling my dad through the kitchen. I was behind him and I was walking. I was telling him, I want to be the best. And he opens the garage to go to the back. We step down the steps in the garage, and I say, Dad, I want to be the best. We need to push harder. I want to quit going to school, blah, blah, blah. And he turns around and he tells me, you'll never be the best. And it crushed me. And that's when everything went downhill for me. I didn't talk to my dad for 2.5 years. I gave up on everything in life, my only passion in life. I missed the window of success for that passion, and I gained 60 pounds and saw how direct performance, how I viewed myself, and how I viewed the world. So on the bright side, that all changed quickly with a boss that came to my, and he had a workout plan, and I executed on that as hard as I could. At 17 years old, lost 60 pounds. That started my journey of health, nutrition, and learning how it actually optimizes performance and also confidence and how you view yourself. So that's kind of the beginning of everything started.
Nicholas, let me ask you a question. So your dad, why did he say that to you? Did you ever, years later ask him about it, or did you ever Like, what was the reason he said that?
It is a tough subject, right? Because, with the $1 billion body and Amanda and I speaking all over the world now, I'm always that I talk about that because he doesn't
Right.
know that I share that with everyone yet.
Oh,
But
okay.
we've talked about
Okay.
it a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
and basically heard millions of times now. So, but he still doesn't know for sure. But we have talked about it, and he said, he meant that on any given day, always going to be someone who can beat you.
Right.
And so if your only aspiration is to be the best, you're going to be really sad the majority of your life, and you're going to have a few days that you're happy.
Yeah.
That was more the angle he's trying to hit. But when I heard it, it was that chance for me to shut off and run away and give up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's not funny, but years when I was in college, I started college fairly young, and I ran into. I was 16, and the first few months was like party central. Man, I didn't study. I was going pre-med, and it was just party, 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 and I failed all my first tests. And so I said, "What am I going to do?" So I went to like one of the dean of students to get their advice, and the guy looked at me and he said, "Look." He goes, "You're not going to make it." He goes, "Just give up right now." He goes, "I don't need you coming here crying to me in 3 years or 4 years saying that you didn't get in." And I remember that moment, and it just like time stopped. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to actually use this moment to sort of just study harder than anybody ever did and project that I'm coming back and I'm going to tell this rat bastard, like years down the road that I made it." And I used it as an inspirational thing. And but it threw me into a depression for a while myself. So do you feel that really, looking back on it now, it actually was a positive influence to you?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said I'm extremely grateful for all of it. Because of that, I was able to learn all about not just the science behind it, how you gain and lose it. I got to see what it was like to get made fun of. And I always have a quote that I always like to say that pressure only exposes weakness, it doesn't create it. Because if
Wow.
there's a pipe, it's built to withhold pressure. And the point that the pipe burst is the weakest point of the pipe. The pipe wasn't faulty, it just had a weak point, and the pressure exposed the weakest part of the pipe. And
Wow.
I like to think of that with ourselves. That was already a problem for me, and I'm so grateful that I got to go through those problems early, and then through the process of feeling and looking better and investing in my thing, got us to go out there and actually start helping other people do the same things, helping entrepreneurs that maybe are working way too hard in their health, help them optimize their health or performance in their business, help them have better relationships, and ultimately enjoy life better.
Right. Nick, so and who are you focusing on? So you're focusing on men and you're focusing on entrepreneurs, and what age group? Like, who is your target public, if you would?
Absolutely. So we work with people that are 20 to 40. I like to work with younger people. There's lots of people just like myself out there that they're motivated. You can see the people that grow the large companies that affect and impact the world. And so I'm catching them either after they've started that or right before that happens. And so we work with both of those, but generally it's the people that are going to go out there, make the largest impact. If I can help these guys be the best they can be, they can impact hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions more people, and I get to be a part of that.
What a great viewpoint. Let me ask you, so when you first, so you said you were overweight. So you start, what was the changing point? Like, what was the point where you said, I've got to get in better shape, I've got to do it? And then what were the first steps that you did? Like, what were the very first things, like that first day that you made that decision? Did you go to the gym? What did you do from that point forward?
That's a really good question. Really the thing to me is I was always motivated. Even when I gave up on motocross, I went to video games and I was like, I'm going to be the best in the world at this video game. And you don't want to know the time that I spent on it. So basically I was always motivated. And I told you the boxer came to the school and he pulled out a bag of fruit. And I was like, why are you eating fruit? Came across my mind, like that was really putting myself out there because people jabbed me so hard for being overweight. You have no clue. And so the fruit, and he tells me my put me on a meal plan so that I can weigh in at the correct weight so that I can fight. And all of a sudden something clicked. I don't know if it was just that unlock or the fact that you could just go a plan. So
Wow.
it's like I knew exactly what to do. It was like the fog finally parted in the road and I could see the end. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I just started just making conscious decisions from that day forward on, even though my mom's making mini corn dogs and potato skin, I was like, I'm just not going to overeat all of them.
Right.
I'm going to actually think and be self-aware about the things that I'm putting into my body and try to do the things. Now, this is why I think coaches are so important, is because I'd also sit there and only eat spinach raw for a whole meal. And I wouldn't even allow myself anything else on it. And so I was starving myself. I was doing things the wrong way. I didn't know, what do I actually have to do to get the result that I want? And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is making sure that people have the plan where they just take action and be to it, and it's going to give them the result that they want.
Now, you call it the $1 billion body. Why the $1 billion body?
Really great question. It's because the value of your body. If there's no value you could put on it. If I were to tell anyone who's listening right now, hey, would you health for $1 billion? If you just felt like crap every day, if you had to be in a wheelchair every day, would you give that up? And they would say no. So ultimately, priceless, as most of the people would say. And so when we look at that, we go, wow, something that's priceless, that's the most important thing to me, that I experience everything was given to me for free. I was born with this body, this thing. And that's why it's so hard for people to actually make that investment, is because they're not paying the payment on their body, not knowing that, oh my goodness, this has so much value. I'm forsaking the very thing that I love so much and have so much value for, to be able to achieve success in business or work or whatever it is that they're trying to do. So the $1 billion body is going, one, we work with high level people that want to achieve high things. So they billion. They want to look and feel like $1 billion, not $1 million. But also the fact that your body is worth so much more.
I was going to say, I was thinking about starting a company called the $1 trillion body. I hope you don't mind. I was just going to jump right ahead with it.
Hey, there's such a small amount of those, man. I'm telling you, million is definitely too low for people now. But billions, the sweet spot right now. But maybe in 20 years, I think $1 trillion body. But I'm pretty sure I already own it. So
I love what you say. I love what you say. Like that, a lot of times we don't appreciate the things that we have, right? And we're always sort of looking at, oh my God, I want to do this. But you start to appreciate like what God gave you, what your potential is, what all these different things in your body. Like, for myself too, there's been times when I've been out of shape. I sort of fell into a routine where I would lift for about 6 months. I would injure my left shoulder. I would stop working out for about a year. And this went on for years. I'm 54, and it's probably gone on since I was in my 20s. And I finally realized, hey, schmuck, maybe you just don't know how to lift. Maybe you don't know how to work out. And about a year ago, I actually started really studying it myself, and I have had no injury. So it is funny that, just having a coach, having somebody that can show you're having some knowledge can allow you to take this asset that God's given you and take it to that $1 billion body. So very well done, sir, in putting this whole thing together.
I appreciate that, man. We'll be affecting 100,000 men in the next 12 months. And so
wow.
The fact that we'll have that many people going through our programs and to brag, but it's just to show that these men are really residing with what's going on. I've trained 530 of our one-on-one coaching clients that pay for that one advice. And we have 100% success rate with people leaving with more energy, closer to their goal, because people to 105 pounds. So not everyone does that in 6 months, obviously. But they're all getting the results that and so we've had no drop-offs. We've only had 1% ever drop out of our program. So, that's unheard of when it comes to health. 30%, 35% of people drop out of a health program and they go to a next one, and only have 1 in 530 is definitely a blessing for us.
Do me a favor. That's amazing. Walk me through a little bit of the coaching process, and do they say, here's my goal, and then you work out? Like, how does that work? Somebody approaches you with, how would the whole process work?
Man, he's trying to pull out the secret sauce. Ultimately, what we found out is that if you can tie return on investment, and that's just what we call it for the business people. But if you can get more out of something than what you put into it, you're happy. Nobody gets to go live for free without investing in their health. You either invest in it now or later. And so basically when it comes down to it, if I can show them that the things that they care about the most are impacted by them investing in themselves and their health, then all of a sudden there's a big value on doing it. Because this is thing real quick. I'm not going to tell all the tactics that we have because it's very special and the people pay such a high price for it. And and not such a high price, but valued. But this is the biggest thing. If I were to tell every listener on here, and email me at support@thebilliondollar.body if you disagree with this, but if I were to tell you, I'll give you $10 million over 10 years, 85 grand a month on around there. If you just follow how to drink water, how to sleep, how to eat, and how to exercise, it's not going to be more than 1 hour of exercise a day ever. Would you do it? And even Dan, would that for me if I gave you 85 grand a month?
Absolutely. I do it for 65 grand a month.
You do it for 65 grand. I do it for I'd do it for $1,000. I mean, I'd do it for 10 grand a year. Like, people would do it for any little price, and realizing that there's a value on it. All of a sudden now they think they're getting something out of it, and it becomes really easy to make the decision and make it a priority every single day. So if you're going to get than that, it becomes really easy to take action on these simple things, because just real quick, the 5 physical attributes of health that I people execute on, and it's in this order, is breathing, drinking, sleeping, eating, and then exercise. Everyone does it the opposite. And then I know I need to eat healthy, and then they're like, I need to get more sleep, and then they don't really think about breathing or drinking water. They're like, oh, that's not going to be the thing that's going to give me results, so why would I focus on that? Right. We do it the opposite, and I think that's a big key to why everyone's getting such good results.
Wow, that's pretty heavy duty. I mean, if I were to say to you, in your mind, like, what's the most important aspect to health? Is that it? Does that summarize it?
If it's a physical thing that you do, breathing is number one, absolutely. And I can even prove it. Try holding your breath for 5 minutes. Let me know how it goes.
All right, I'm going to start right now.
You die. Yeah, sorry, Dan can't finish the show.
The show was unfinished. Absolutely, absolutely.
But you've gone more than 5 minutes without drinking water, probably. And you've definitely gone more than 5 minutes without sleeping. And you can definitely go over 40 days without eating, and you can go a whole life of living without exercise. Yeah. So you might not enjoy it as much. Yeah. And automatically, we've already built to show us what is the most important thing to make sure. I mean, you detox around 70% of your water just from your breath. So about if you're not breathing correctly, or if you're not breathing as much, if that's how you're detoxing. Right. So it's already shown to you in plain sight. You hold your breath, die. Yeah. So, obviously a little bit, maybe more than that, maybe less than that for some of us listening. They're like 5 minutes, 2 minutes, I'm out. So, I would say the mindset is everything, because like we talked about before the show, it's the right plan for you is the plan that you can do. The plan that's the best for you is the one that you can actually, it's not getting the plan. It's not knowing the information. It's actually applying the information to get the result. So mindset is the only thing that's going to give you when it comes to application. Breath is number one.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, I've got to tell you, but even in terms of just for myself, I'm trying to lose the gut, and I've been, like I said, the last year really working out and pushing myself. And my wife keeps telling me, you've got to drink more water. And I keep blowing her off, but I also think that's probably something I'm going to have to admit that she was right about as well. Nicholas, let me ask you. So years ago, I remember working out at a Gold's Gym. I was young. I was probably in my 20s. And this old guy walks in, and he had the face of a 70-year-old guy. But when he took his shirt off, right, he could have been 20 years old. He was a monster. I always think about that. And I always thought, man, we don't really age as much as we think we do. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, just like in terms of the aging process and what you teach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so true when it comes to if you don't use it, you lose. I've never seen someone get stronger being in a cast. And you could probably tell me a little bit more about that, because I'm sure you've seen a lot more people in casts than I have.
Great point.
I've never seen anyone grow or get stronger. So a lot of people get scared that if I work out too much, if I move too much, if I strain my eyes too much, I've never seen anyone's eyes get glasses on. So ultimately, I know that it's not the preservation of body and life that keeps us young and more aware. It's the actual use of those different gifts that we've been given, from hearing to seeing to moving, that keeps in motion. So it's obvious that if you don't use it, you lose it. You start wearing glasses now, you're going to always have to wear glasses, and you will look at worse. It's just the way it is. So no matter what crutch you have in your life, if it's a walker, then soon you're going to have worse posture. Every single thing has a positive and a negative repercussion. The repercussion, you just have to weigh out which one's more powerful. Is this worth is the positive more powerful than the negative? We already know that when frozen foods came out in the 1950s, that made things a lot quicker. That's the positive. It also made one extremely unhealthy, which was the negative. If they knew the negative repercussion for the quick food, then they would have never done it in the first place, but they didn't. And now it's like, don't eat, if you're pregnant, don't go near a microwave because that can really mess you up.
Right.
And yet you're eating the food from the microwave. So, that quick fix has a negative repercussion and a positive because it is really quick and it does make things really, really warm really fast. But is that positive repercussion better than the negative repercussion? So when it comes to movement, when it comes to health, if you don't use it, you lose it. And the fact that if you're not hurting your body, you can, but if you're not hurting yourself anymore, you always induce movement before atrophy. You never want to get to atrophy if you can stay away from it, right? You want to make sure you keep those muscles activated and alive. And so if you're not hurting this thing anymore, obviously you don't want to go try to use your broken arm and make sure that you use it, you lose it. But if you're past the broken stage, you're in the mending stage, it's not hurting it anymore, you want to strengthen it, or else you're going to atrophy and your body will just compensating and using other parts of the body to stay alive. Your body's built to survive.
It reminds me when I was a kid, I remember my dad saying that people are going to basically in generations to come are going to have one finger. They're going to go from 5 fingers to 1 finger. And I said, Dad, what are you talking about? It's just to push a button. He said, because that's all they're going to need to do. Go to the television, push the button. And it's sort of what you're saying. It's just let it atrophy. So, Nicholas, our show is about really looking at the holy grail of health and trying to figure out the things to do. So two final questions for you. So one is, what is the most important resource you would recommend for our listeners to go to improve their health or find out more about their health?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things for me is, like I said, when I was 17, I was motivated, right? So the time you're growing, but I was overweight. So it was a hard time for me. And I just needed a plan. And so we created a challenge for people to go in and get a plan that they can trust, that they could do in 15 days that's guaranteed to give them results. And so that's at the BillionDollarBody.com/challenge. And that's where I would love people to go get connected. And then on top of that, we have a private Facebook group that people can get in, seeing what other results, and they can also ask questions, and they have 24/7 support from our coaches in that group. And again, that's the second resource, because not just having the plan, you can know all the workouts. And I'll tell you the truth, you really could Google and YouTube everything in the planet right now, probably find everything that I can teach. But that's not the key. That's not the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is, how do you apply the things that you know? And we perfected with the ability in that group. And that's all for free. So go to BillionDollarBody.com/challenge. Check that out. Join the Facebook group for free. And that's where we can connect more as well.
Nicholas, that's awesome. And we're going to definitely send our listeners there. We're going to put a link to that on the bottom and stuff. But is that the best place where listeners can find out about you?
That's a great place for them to be able to help themselves. But on top of that, the Billion Dollar Body on Facebook, it's just facebook.com/BillionDollarBody. And that's a great place to be able to start seeing more content. How do you get tips on, what supplements are the best on a budget, right? If you're just trying to get the things, what are the things that are going to move the needle the most when it comes to the best workouts, foods that you eat when you travel, foods that you eat, that you order from restaurants. So tons of tips. Actually live a lifestyle of looking and feeling like $1 billion. And so we make sure that you don't have to go out and do the research. You don't have to guess, pick and choose, none of that. We have people from paleo backgrounds, from traditional bodybuilding backgrounds, all these different things coming together to make the best plan. We have PhD and naturopath doctors and everything like that that help create plans to make them the best, so that you don't have to second guess or question.
Nicholas, what you said about you can get random bits of information from different places. But what I find is that, I read books and I get little ideas, but really what I'm looking for is systems. Because when you get somebody that's actually taking those random ideas and systematized them, you've got brilliance. You've got something that you can actually follow to a result and a product, and it sounds like that's exactly what you did. And very well done, sir. That's awesome. Nicholas Bayerle, I want to thank you so much, sir, for being on our show. It's really greatly appreciated. My listeners are going to get a great deal out of this, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to follow up with you.
Absolutely, man. And for everyone who's listening, thank you so much. I really appreciate every single one of you. And, I'm looking forward to connecting on the other side. I always make time for all the people that come from shows like Dan's. It's just a great community. Anyone who's connected to him are people that are friends of ours. So make sure to reach out, and we'll do everything we can for you.
This episode is sponsored by New Jersey Foot and Ankle Center in Oradell, New Jersey. Remember, when you have a foot problem, you've got a foot doctor in the family. Weekend and evening appointments are available. Call us at 201-261-9445. Once again, that's 201-261-9445. Thanks for listening. Check out the show notes over at drdanspeaks.com. If you're loving the show, head over to iTunes and leave us a review, and we'll catch you next time. This episode is brought to you by Slate Media Productions. For more information, please visit slatemediaproductions.com. Voiceovers for this episode were provided by Randy Ramos Jr. To see and hear more of his work, visit randyramosjr.com.